Hello, my name is Shine, and welcome back to the Phyrexian Arena. Today we'll be talking about all the decks I've built. I'll be ranking them on a tier list. This tier list will not focus on power level, and instead will prioritize how fun they were to pilot. Let's get into it. Notably, I will not be talking about my partner commanders, as those were CEDH, and we're going to keep this all about fun. Wyleth Soul of Steel. This was the beginning of an addiction to the commander format. A pre-constructed deck with a commander that seems powerful on paper, but falls short due to the strategy of Voltron being relatively weak in EDH. This deck was fun despite its weaknesses. Due to this, Wyleth will reside in B tier. Osgir the Reconstructor. Another pre-constructed deck. This deck out of the box was insanely powerful, containing cards like Thousand Year Elixir and Archaeomancer's Map. This artifact deck was really powerful in casual pods. However, if you're not familiar with Magic rules, it was very confusing. Osgir is easily in the A tier category. Willowdusk the Essenseer, another pre-constructed deck from Strixhaven. This deck focuses on life gain and life drain. The deck was fun to play but got old pretty fast. It was also forgettable. I'm going to leave this deck in C tier. Veyran Voice of Duality, a pre-constructed deck that I wanted to upgrade. Utilizing flurry effects, storm, and cantrips made this deck a force to be reckoned with. Ultimately, the deck was fun, but the main issue was that the turns were very long. My opponents would get tired of playing. Due to this downside, I will leave this deck in B tier. Narset Enlightened Master, my first ever custom deck. This deck featured extra turns, flurry, and combo. The deck made a lot of people not enjoy playing with me. With luck, the deck would land me so many extra turns that my opponents would just concede. I took this deck apart because even I was not having fun. C tier. Elsha of the Infinite. After understanding why people did not like my Narset deck, I decided I would make something powerful but easier to play against. This deck wanted to cast non-creature spells off the top of my library to either combo off or grow Elsha and give them trample. This deck was awesome. My first S tier. Tasigur the Golden Fang, my first ever graveyard deck. I remember spending a lot of money on cards for this deck. It was really powerful and really fun to play. In fact, for the first 10 games, it was undefeated. All my opponents would team up on me. And it was still really fun to play. A tier. Inala, Archmage Ritualist. I love Grixis. Inala was something that I found interesting because of the Eminence ability. The deck was fun, but it was a bit tough to make work with my budget. So, it's going to be B tier. Unhello the Painter, a Grixis precon that was really powerful, allowing for copying of spells just by sacrificing a small creature. Due to me not loving the Spellslinger playstyle at the time, this deck was taken apart for cards. C tier. Neheb the Eternal. Mono red burn at its finest. Close out games incredibly fast, whether it be killing the table or dying to my own hubris. This deck was really fun. A tier. Neheb the Worthy, a Minotaur tribal deck with a graveyard sub-theme. Simple, easy, and very aggressive. B tier. Asmarano Martika Dicey, just like its name, an awesome deck. This was my favorite deck for a long time. Combined graveyard with burn. S tier. The Beamtown Bullies. Great premise of a commander, however, due to many factors, this deck was scrapped for cards. The main reason was that it felt too linear. Mill myself, get Leveler into the graveyard, and then proceed to kill someone. It wasn't very interactive. With that being said, I would build this again, with more of an interaction theme in mind. So, I'll put it at A tier. Inquisitor Greyfax, an awesome premise of tapping and untapping for value. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this deck to work I wanted to, but it was still fun, so B tier. Gavi Nest Warden, aptly named Gavi-clad Nest Engineer. This was a token deck that had a hidden commander in it. That commander was Brood-clad, Telcor Engineer. Gavi was the face of this commander deck, so that I had access to the color white for token generation. I loved this deck and how creative it was. A tier. Ashnod the Uncaring. A deck that sacrificed artifacts for value and then returned them to the battlefield to either gain value or deal direct damage. This deck was very enjoyable. A tier. Torwalkie the Younger. A Rakdos Spellslinger deck. Utilizes cantrips and damage modifiers to ensure that I'm able to take out my opponents very quickly. It also has an Infect sub-theme. Very fun and interactive. A tier. Carador Ghost Chieftain. My first Abzan deck. I love Graveyard Recursion decks, so I wanted to build this one. Unfortunately, I didn't really like this one as much as I thought, so it's a D tier. Satya, Aetherflux Genius, a very aggressive Jeskai combat deck with a focus on energy and making copies of creatures that have damage triggers or enter the battlefield effects. This one was fun, but not the most fun. B tier. Círdan the Shipwright is a deck that will never get old. I don't think I'll ever take this deck apart. It's a really fun deck that has to do with voting and allows for an extremely fun game for everyone involved. This is an easy S tier. Aminatu Veil Piercer. This started as a precon that I actually upgraded. In fact, I made a video on this upgrade on this channel. This deck is very powerful and quite fun to bring to pods, even if those pods are higher power. A tier. Marchesa the Black Rose. One of my favorite commanders in my absolute favorite colors. This is a Grixis good stuff deck. Dragons, demons, pirates, and vampires. A tier. Nekusar the Mind Razor. A very powerful burn deck that punishes people for drawing cards. Fun to pilot, but very toxic to play against. A tier. Megatron is an awesome fling deck that uses high mana value artifacts to fling damage at creatures and their controllers. It also makes a ton of mana with Megatron that can allow for even higher mana value artifacts to be thrown at people. S tier. Yidris Maelstrom Wielder. This is my newest deck. It focuses on the Cascade mechanic to get free spells whenever I cast spells from my hand, whenever Yidris deals combat damage. The deck has ways to give Yidris evasion, so that he can get in for damage every time. It's very new, but for the time being, we're going to give it B tier. And there you have it, a tier list of all the commanders that I've used over the years. I hope you guys build some of these decks, because they're actually really fun. Let me know if you do. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye bye.